Welcome back to the show. What we're going to walk you through is lessons and things that we've learned from working with coaches, making anywhere from £3,000 to £5,000 a month, all the way up to £100,000 a month in their fitness business. We're going to share some lessons of things that we've learned from working with them, some mistakes that we've made in our businesses, and also, people have made in theirs. And hopefully you can take from that and learn exactly what you need to be doing in order to scale your fitness business. Today, the topic that we're going to pick out is our biggest traits that we've seen in coaches that have managed to scale really effectively, okay, and grow really large businesses. Because I feel like if people can take these things and apply it into their own businesses, or at least be mindful of it, it's going to be something that really, really helps you move forward. So make sure that you listen to these 3 traits and you take them and implement them into your business. My first one, I'm going to lead. First one is going to be the ability to leave stuff alone that's working. And this is something that I see a lot with coaches. They see, they follow a lot of business advice, they listen to a lot of podcasts, they do a lot of things, and they get a little bit giddy with implementation of everything that they hear and see. And they generally rush a lot of things to get done first. So the best clients that I work with that have worked the most methodical and grown the fastest have been the ones that have been happy to accept layering one task at a time and making sure that everything gets done, step by step and gets implemented properly before they move on to the next thing. And they grow quickly, but they're not forcing growth, which is something that I see happens a lot. So I had this with a client actually, during the week. One of our clients was on a group call and he was like, I got 30 responses to this marketing tactic that I used, but it's only ended up in 10 sales. And I was like, okay, what was your target? And he was like, 5 to 7 sales. What's your problem then? He's like, yeah, I know, but I feel like there could have been something that I implemented to convert more of the 30 entries into more clients. I'm like, you did what you set out to do. Move on.
Yeah.
Don't worry. If you can consistently run that tactic and get 10 new clients, you're aiming with 5 to 7, you overperformed. What's the issue? You just did what you set out to do. Move on to the next thing. That's working. Carry on. They want to do more things. They want to try a fancier approach. They want to, try and blow the roof off everything. And sometimes you just need to tick that box, and just not rush. And we worked with a client last year that basically went from 40 grand a month to over £100,000 a month within a 6-month period. It was silly growth. Okay. Literally most of my tasks with that business owner was to stop them doing other stuff and literally just focus on, they had one system that was working really well and they were like, okay, I want to hire this person and do this and do this and do this. And I'm like, you are growing at a rate that is absolutely stupid. You do not need to be doing anything else. You don't need this boat to go faster. If the boat goes faster, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah, they were getting to the point where they weren't going to be able to fulfill. It was like, what are you going to do with it all?
Yeah. And that was the thing. Sometimes, coaches that are ambitious and really want to grow can try and take on too much. And then it ends up being a bit of a mess and nothing gets done properly. I see it all the time with coaches when they come to make the first hire, they want to hire 7 or 8 different things all at once. I want a setter, I want a closer, I want a coach. And I'm like, whoa. You've never even trained a member of staff before. Let's try one first and then move from there. After you've actually got used to it and you've been through that process. If you're trying to hire and onboard 3 different people all at once, it's going to be a mess. So I think once you're out of that period, and to be honest, some coaches aren't even ready to hire. Some coaches, they're doing well enough to keep themselves afloat and make a good business for themselves. But there's a difference between a business that's good for you and a business that's good to scale. And there's things that need to be put in place first. Long form content, having, steady audience growth of new eyes onto your page, having a consistent lead gen process that actually is scalable. And when I mean scalable, I mean you know, if you're making 8 sales a month, is there a way for us to dial that up to 16 by changing some parameters? Or are you just hoping you can fill a member of staff up? Are you hiring a member of staff to try and do something you can't already do? That's not the right way forward. You need to make sure that you've got that stability in first. And again, it's just doing the right thing at the right time, one step at a time, and not rushing. And I think for me, that's the biggest trait that you can have as a business owner, is understanding that methodical plan and realizing that although, yes, you need to continually keep developing, you need to keep pushing, you can push yourself as hard as you want, but you can almost only push a business as hard as it can take it before it starts to fall apart. And it's understanding what the differences in those two appetites are. Some people will run themselves into a wall, but your business can't take that once it's at a certain size. It has to be taken step by step.
Yeah, mine kind of leads on from that, to be fair. Mine's like 2, but there's one main one. So like the thing that leads on from that is the ability to know when you're wrong and know when you're chasing the wrong thing. But you can only get that by objectivity, is by being able to look at things objective. And I think, well, I know that I struggled with it at first. Like, it's really tough because at some point you are your business. It is your baby. It's your brainchild. You've put all your time, all your effort, all your energy into it. You need to be able to separate yourself, remove yourself from the situation and look at things objectively and be like, what's working, what's not, what do I need to get better at? What am I like? What can I leave alone? The only way people do that, and this is something that so many people struggle with this because it's fucking boring, is it's data tracking. Like, you need the data to make, you have to use data to make decisions. You can't make decisions based on feeling alone, on emotion alone, because your emotion is so tied up in that business, more than likely, so tied up in that business that you will make the wrong decisions based on what you are feeling. You need to be able to look at the data. You need to have the admin side of it. And it is boring. It's shit. I hate it still to this day. But if you don't have it, you don't know if you're making the right decision, and you don't know what to leave alone and what that needs that work. And you don't know when, where you are wrong.
I don't think you can train your emotions correctly if you don't have the data either. No. So like, we've got pretty good at data, like just from scaling the business and being on top of it. So like, now I've got a really good barometer of like, I know when I get a certain feeling, I either need to ignore it, or when I get a certain feeling in another aspect, I know that, you know, data always shows me that when I feel that way about something, I'm usually right and I need to act on it. And there's like certain things. So like, I'll sometimes feel like sales are really slow, but usually when I feel that way and I go back and look at the data, it's slow. Like, it feels slow because it doesn't feel frantic. It doesn't feel like there's loads of calls and loads of leads coming in. But whenever I look at the data, I'm like, oh, that's just because actually we've had a better lead quality this month and we're not doing as many calls, but sales are usually all right. Sales are pretty clockwork for most of the time. So I know realistically when that happens to not do anything until I've seen trends in the data for a couple of weeks. However, with like culture and hiring staff, I know through our data that every time I've ignored a problem, it's got progressively worse until the point of, you know, we've had to remove a member of staff further down the line when they're further ingrained into the business and we should have probably let them. So now it's literally like, I have like a prompt of like this 2 or 3 data points that I look at. And if those are in the wrong place, or like if I rank someone's performance and there's certain things that get highlighted, I know that those never really get fixed because like they're inherent traits and it just has to be done. But again, without the data of tracking the sales and tracking, you know, the performance of staff and stuff like that, I wouldn't have learned what those feelings mean. And I'd have just been guessing every single time that I did it. Sometimes I've been right, sometimes I've been wrong. Yeah. But now I know how to assess my feelings because I've trained it on the data. Yeah, I don't think people realize when we say data as well, we don't just mean how many sales have you made. It's like, it's the amount of stuff that we get clients to track at first can kind of like almost like blow people's heads off. Like, even just in the lead gen process, how much time you're spending doing lead gen, how many messages are you sending, how many responses are you getting, how many leads. Like, it's literally every single point of that kind of thing. We do that for everything. It's not just lead generation. It's not just sales. Even our clients, we track everything. How are they doing? Are they checking in? Have they done their audits? Are they communicating? Are they making the progress that we thought they would? So yeah, if you're making decisions without that, what are you making it on? Like, why? that leads to the problem that I spoke about, which is just doing random shit.
Yeah.
Because they're not actually sure what is working and what's not. So they just keep looking for
Magic
home
answers.
runs. Yeah, they just keep looking for the secret sauce almost. They're not, where really, if you looked at the data, you'd be like, oh, if you actually got that bit right, the whole thing would fix itself.
Yeah.
But they throw the whole thing out and do a completely new thing and start from scratch when it's like, actually, and we did it this week, like.
It's the shiny object syndrome though as
Yeah.
well. It's like people, like I read about it a couple weeks ago, it was about like the dopamine hit. Like people constantly want to feel that like good thing when they do something. So they constantly look for the next thing to be like, I'll do it again, I'll do this, I'll do that.
Because it gets boring. Like growing a business at first is like you build the program, then you start doing the content, and then you do
get
this,
boring.
and it's all like, new things, new things. And then you're like, hey, we've got something that works now. You're like, cool, what do? You leave it alone.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. Leave it alone.
We're so strict with our clients, obviously, me running the team of coaches. I say to people, if people haven't filled their entire check-in in, don't give them feedback on that bit. Like, I had a client this week who did an audit, and I bollocked him on the audit because he'd left out quite a lot of the lead gen bit. And I'm like, I'm not going to give you any advice on it because I don't know which bit we need to fix.
Yeah.
You need to do it all. And like coaches watching this will get so annoyed when their clients do check-ins and miss bits out. But
Conveniently, the bits that they probably need the most help with.
Yeah. And it's the same sort of thing. There are so many parallels that we see between our clients and coaches pulling those parallels with their clients. It's
just
But the same with like messaging and stuff. It's like they're like, oh, like she left me on red, or like, you know, like I get so pissed off, and I'm like, but you do it to us.
Yeah.
I'm like, so how do you feel when it happens to us when you get it the exact same thing in your inbox?
I feel like there's some underlying trauma there, Shannon. We've not got time for that.
What's yours, Shannon?
Work ethic, basically. So like, obviously one of the biggest traits I always say is like, if someone comes in and they've got a really good work ethic, they do so well, and like it becomes more of a joy as well to actually coach.
Yeah.
Like I love when people are like, similar to what you just said, like not layering stuff on. They're like, right, I've given them a plan, but say if it's got like a load of tasks, I'm like, don't do this all at once. Just focus on this thing for the next couple of days, next 2 weeks, and get that done. That needs to be solid before we can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And then they become so much more successful in their business because they've actually taken the advice on. Whereas like someone who's like, I'm going to do everything in this list in the next week, and I'm like, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Just do the one thing I need you to do, and then work on that, and then we'll keep, you know, running through that list together. And that's always the biggest thing I think. And it's such a joy to coach because you're like, you just get it. And like, you can tell that your business is going to do well, and they do well. And they carry on continuing to do well because they're like, right, this is just one thing I need to focus on. I don't need to do all these other things. I don't need to fiddle about with fucking filters on Instagram or, you know, this the next app that's coming out or something like that. But it's because of like, obviously the society we live in, there's constantly something new. So like, I need to try that out. I'm like, no, you don't. You just need to keep doing what you're doing, do the basics, and you'll get to that goal. Like obviously, like you were saying before, that client we've had, I know exactly what you're talking about. They didn't do anything different than what the people that we're teaching now. They just constantly repeated the same process over and over again, had a good work ethic, and then got better.
There are so many ways that you could take this. Like we've said it quite a lot recently, like what are you doing with your time? Like if you are spending 40 hours a week working, what are you doing in those 40 hours? Oh, well, I'm kind of scrolling on Instagram, and then I go to send one message, but I get trapped in reels, and that's like...
I get all the time in the calls though, and they're like, the one thing they always say is like, how, like whenever I just can't do 1 hour lead gen, I'm like, well, break it down then. If you can't do 1 hour, I'm not telling you to sit on your phone for an hour messaging people. Break it down. If you can only concentrate for 20 minutes, do 20 minutes. Like just go and do that task for 20 minutes and then stop. And if you want to go and scroll Instagram, go scroll Instagram. Go watch videos or go, I don't know, do whatever you're doing on Instagram. But do that task for 20 minutes, break it down, go back in, do another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If you can't do any, there's actually a technique for it. It's called like, it's like a breaking it down.
Pomodoro.
Yeah, technique for 20 minutes.
Something
And like just doing
GCSE
it.
kids do that when they do
The little tomato thing. Have
We
you
got
seen
the tomatoes. We bought them.
Did you?
We bought them the tomatoes.
It
We bought
works?
the whole class the tomatoes. And we used to do like after school revision with them because they just wouldn't do it at home. Like every school I've worked in would never let kids do revision at home. We used to just do it in school.
Yeah.
Like I know myself, I
We
can't
used to
work.
always do that with them. Always just set the
I can't
timers.
work in like 2 hour blocks. It's not the way my brain works. I know I have to like literally do a task for like 20 minutes to half an hour. And then I'm like, right, I need to go and do something else where like, that's kind of how my brain works. I can't, I used to try and block out like, right, that's my 2 hour work block. And in that 2 hours, I would not do that task. I'm like, that's not how I work.
Oh, I do. I'm really good at like just doing 2 or 3 hours, like just straight. I block I do like similar tasks all in one go, like straight up and down. Like
the
No, I
work
can't
ethic
do
thing,
that.
the productivity thing, the work ethic thing is like, everybody's going to be different. Like if you look at mine, I'll start work at 6 in the morning till 8, then I have 2 hours off. I go to the gym, then I do 10 till 12, then I have an hour off. Then I do 1 till 3, then I have an hour off, and then I'll do 4 till 6. And that works for me. And the only way that I found that out is by actually fucking doing it and sticking to it.
Yeah.
Like I used to do the whole, well, I'm going to work 9 till 5. It doesn't work like that. Like you've got you are your boss. You get to decide.
I think I said this on a call the other day. I was like, I don't have working hours. Like I just don't have working hours because my work is not like that. Like the job that we do, obviously what we work. Like he'll be texting me at 7 o'clock in the morning. There's sometimes at 9 o'clock at night.
I get him at 11 at night. So.
Yeah, it's like 9 o'clock, and I'm like, we're still talking about work though. We'll still be working.
Yeah, I don't call that work though.
To me, that's still work because I'm still having to do, like, it's still work, isn't it, related? But like, I'll still be working. And I find that I work actually better like 6 o'clock at night than I do throughout the whole entire day.
What's your thoughts on this whole work-life balance thing when trying to grow a business? Because at the minute, right, we're building something pretty fucking cool. We're working on something like really cool at the minute. I'm sat at my laptop till 8 o'clock most nights, putting that extra time in to get it done, and I love it. But
maybe it's because of the, like, obviously my household, like my partner doesn't have a massive work-life balance.
Yeah.
So like Tom will literally sit there until 11 o'clock at night and he'll work till 11 o'clock at night.
No, that's
and
the point I'm trying to make.
He'll do that every day. He works on the Saturdays as well.
Yeah.
Like we'll always say, right, well, like on a Friday night, like that's our time. We'll do like a date night or whatever. But I used to have a work-life balance.
I see you sat on your stories, both of you sat at like 9 p.m, both just sat working.
Yeah,
but
and it doesn't bother me. Like it doesn't faze me because I'm like, I love my job.
Yeah.
So I love working, so it doesn't bother me. If it was something that I hated, then I'd be like, right, fuck this, I'm not doing that. But then I will spend like a Saturday, I'll have the full day off unless I've got like coursework, like videos to do or like recording stuff. Like I'll do that, but like I'll have Saturday off. Sundays, I love working on Sundays. I don't know why. I feel like it's because it's dead. Like no one's gonna disturb me. Like my Slack's not pinging. I'm just like, that's my time to like do what I need to do.
That's the point I'm trying to make though. I think so. There's such a big emphasis at the minute on like you need to be resting as well. It's like says fucking who? Like
Alex Mosey is like one of the biggest like names.
It's not. I'm sick of hearing his name.
So hard, but he is though, and he says that as well. Like people always like, aren't you going to burn yourself out? Like, aren't you doing this? He's like, no. He's like, no, I'm not going to. Why? What is wrong with me doing what I'm doing?
Yeah, I'm not. I am not for 1 second suggesting that you can work like that forever.
No,
absolutely not. But if you are scaling and wanting to grow and build something, there are going to be times where, unfortunately, the work ethic really needs to come into play. Not I'm doing 18-hour days and I'm sat fucking about on Instagram. Like when COVID got announced, right? It was when we were running GRT. We did 36 hours in 2 days, sat preparing everything for all of our clients. There are certain times, obviously that's a bit of a freak occurrence, hopefully, touch wood. But there are certain times where you're just gonna have to put the work in and you're gonna have to shut the fuck up and do it.
I had a client last year who was in CEO and did not do as well as what he wanted to do, but took 2 days off every week. And I went, are you taking the piss? You're trying to take 2 days off every week? And he's like, yeah, but I've always done that. And I was like, but you want to grow a business.
I think we found the problem.
Yeah, you want to grow a business to where you've never done it before, but you're going to keep doing the same things you're doing again. And he was like, yeah, but I don't like look at my phone. I'm like, it's like, I could still do lead gen. And I was like, do you though? Like, I can't, like, honestly. And then obviously when he left, he was like pissed off. And I'm like, you've not done, like, you've not really done anything like we've told you to do. I've told you need to work more, like a work ethic. I've told you to cut back this, at that and the other. Just didn't do it.
I do get it though. Like, we're all very similar. Most people in our like upper level of...
I think you can take 2 days off a week. I think the problem is that
you can now.
Nah, but I think I've realistically most of the time never worked a weekend. I've had a thing about never working weekends. I didn't work weekends.
This was like a Friday and something else he was doing. I was like, well,
two extra days off a week, not the weekend.
No. Like he was like he would have went to like done his PT on like a Saturday and Sunday, but would have took 2 days off during the week. And I was like, that's like your prominent time of when people are going to be.
Yeah,
like
that's more of a tactical thing than a work thing though, isn't it? That's like if you take 2 days off in a week, but you're working weekends, are your target market really going to want to be doing sales calls on a Sunday, or are they going to respond to you on a Sunday? I think that's tactical. I think, you realistically for most people, if you put 40 hours a week into a business, like you sound, but it's making sure it's an effective 30 to 40 hours. And
it's how you spend the time.
30 to 40 hours of being sat at your computer, but you're not actually doing any work.
I will still hold my hands up and say I do probably 45 to 50. Am I working for 45 to 50? No, of course not.
I
actually don't even know how much hours I work.
I reckon I do maybe 5-6 hours a day of actual focus.
So I do 6 hours a day of work. and I'm getting pretty good at just not. But then again, like I'm always sort of working, but my structured work is 6 hours, and I don't structure any more in, and that means that I still get more work done than most people do.
Yeah.
And it's just because I'm getting good at cutting out dead time and not fucking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on at the minute. Like, I'm aware that I do it, so I'm not saying that the way that I do it is right.
I've never audited anyone's time and gone, fuck me, you're using all that time really effectively, and actually you just don't have time. Like, sorry, it's not going to grow because you don't have time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people, it's just an attention problem.
Yeah, I think obviously the difference with me is I know that I'm doing it, but I still sit and do the work until it
Yeah,
gets
listen,
done.
like some people like a leisurely way of doing it. Like some people like to smash it out and go do other things. Other people like to lessen the pressure on it and just like, I'm happy for it to take all day as long as I can do it in my own pace and not feel like I'm on a clock. Everyone's different, but like you've got to accept the pros and cons that come with that. Like, I work for a focused 6 hours, which means in those 6 hours, I'm pretty unshakable. Like I've got to do all of that stuff. It's hectic. I need somebody to run the whole household and do a load of stuff because I can't, I'll just let the dog out. I'll just do this. I'll just do that. That's the pros and cons of it. The other flip side is you could pretty much have a mostly leisurely day. You go work from a coffee shop if you wanted. You're still probably only going to get done the same amount of work that I did, but they'll look very different days. And I think it just depends on the kind of human that you are. Like I'm very like off and on, mostly on. But like when I'm working, like I just don't talk to me like I'm just getting this finished. Other people are a bit like, I'll have a brew, I'll have a chat with you, and then I'll get back to it. And I think that just depends on your personality type.
So what we've taken from that is Charlotte is the key to FPU's success.
Pretty much, yeah. If she stops cooking and cleaning and look after the dog, we're fucked.
I'm going to say that I'm Tom's because I do everything else. So he just gets to work. That's about it. Takes bins out.
Yeah. Hopefully that was really useful for you to understand those concepts and the little chat we had afterwards. If there's any questions that you've got, don't be afraid. Shoot us a message on Instagram at @Steve_FBU. Happy to have a chat about it. And I'll see you next time.